Oyez, oyez, oyez.
The Honorable Podcast on Masonic Law is now in session. Welcome to the podcast on Masonic Law, where we hope to build curiosity and desire to better understand our regulations.
Oyez, 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 oyez. Oyez, oyez.
Welcome back to the Oyez Podcast, brothers. This is Rip Moore with Fort Worth 148, and today we're going to talk about Regalia. Before we get into that, though, of course, real quick, I've got to do some shameless plugs, starting with Texas MasoniCon. If you haven't gotten tickets yet, the early bird price is out there. It's $55. You can go to texasmasonicon.com and grab you some tickets. We haven't released any of the details yet as far as speakers for the event, that is. But they're going to be some good ones. We've already got quite a few good ones lined up. So it's going to be another great year. We're also hosting a festive board again on Friday night, the night before Texas MasoniCon, like we did last year, but we kind of upped the game this year. It's going to be held at the Regalia in Fort Worth. And we've got our own private room. We've got a great dinner options, because I think there's 3 options. And that's $100. And the kicker to that one is Brother Chuck Dunning's going to be speaking at that. So should be a great time. And, a little bit different than last time. Like I said on the last show, this room has carpet. So it's going to be easier to have a conversation. But also, I want to plug the Grand Masters Banquet that's coming up in April in Fort Worth. I believe it's April 24th. I'll double check that on the next show, but we've got some time. It's in April. It's right after the Grand Masters Conference that day, or at 6 that night, so shortly after. But it's going to be held at the Home and School Banquet Hall. He's rented that out. Tickets are $40, which helps cover that cost. There's going to be a good meal, but we're going to get a chance to go, as Masons, go back and see that school for a lot of us that weren't around for that. Because the year I was raised, that Grand Lodge is when they voted to close the brick and mortar part of it. So it's just gonna be a great opportunity to go back in there and have dinner and just kind of feel the essence of that home and school, because it's one of the best things we ever did as Texas Masons. So keep an eye out for that and get you some tickets and go hang out at the Grand Masters Banquet coming up in April. So let's get to the law. I wanted to talk about regalia, clothing, and aprons. This is going to be concerning Article 272, Article 273, and Article 274. So we'll start out with Article 272, officers clothed and jeweled. And the law says, no officer shall appear in a lodge while open without the jewel and clothing appropriate for his office. Clothing is a weird choice of words. It seems like they should have put apron there or something, but I guess properly clothed. So we know that's referring to the apron. At least that's my interpretation. So in Article 273, it goes into a little more detail on that. Officer regalia, and the law says a lodge may provide special collars and aprons to be worn by its officers for the purpose of preserving their symbolic features as a mark of distinction and to enhance the dignity of the lodge. Such regalia shall consist of a collar of blue velvet, so specific color, blue velvet from which shall be suspended the jewel appropriate to the station of the officer. Said collar may have embroidered thereon any of the symbols of Freemasonry appropriate to be displayed. The regulation apron shall be of white lambskin of the following dimensions. The apron shall be 16 inches square with a drop in the bib of 6 inches to the triangular point. So 16 by 16 with a 6-inch drop. But something I find curious is the regulation apron shall be of white lambskin. It specifically states lambskin. So I'm not for sure, but I'm pretty for sure my white leather apron is cow skin. And it further goes on and says, it will be permissible. So you can. It will be permissible to have embroidered upon the bib of the apron the appropriate jewel of the office, and upon the body of the apron below the bib, the square encompasses circumscribing the letter G. The outside edge of the apron shall be bordered with blue silk, velvet, or braid, 1 inch in width, and the bib with the same material 1/2 inch in width. The apron may be lined on the reverse side with blue satin or other material. In addition to using the past master's aprons now being worn, it shall be permissible for past masters to wear aprons with the same design and insignia as provided for the worshipful master. But the addition of the arc or quadrant under the points of the compasses would be optional. And last little bit, it says, in conferring degrees, officers may wear appropriate robes or costumes, and appropriate scenery may be used. The insignia or regalia of other orders or organizations may not be worn. And this is one that we know very well at 148, because we looked into getting new officer aprons, and it's actually pretty tough to find, to the letter of the law, regulation officer aprons. And, they might have the square and compass and the tool in the proper place, but then the border wouldn't be right. It would be 1 inch on the bib and the whole apron. So we kind of gave up and came under the decision that we're just going to all wear white aprons, and we just bought a bunch of cowhide aprons. And that's what we all wear now. So maybe when we actually get, I'm sure they're out there, but we just kind of gave up on it. But I digress. So Article 274 says, as concerning members' aprons, the regulation apron, so key word there, the regulation apron, for members of the lodge shall be of the same dimensions provided for the aprons of officers of the lodge, and shall be made of white lambskin without border or decoration, provided it shall not be mandatory upon any lodge to provide regulation regalia and aprons until such time as it may be able to do so, and such aprons may be made of white cloth. So you can have white cloth aprons according to Grand Lodge law until your lodge is able to afford appropriate regalia or regulation regalia and aprons. So might be something to think about. And those leather aprons, well, cowhide, I should say, the ones that you buy at McCoy's that are actually Texas regulation, they're not really that pricey. I think they're like $12 or $13 a piece. So, it's not a bad investment. You start out with the active members of your lodge, maybe pass the hat, and everybody start wearing leather and bump up from those old cloth aprons. Those things need to go away, in my opinion. They're old and worn out. But anyways, brothers, If you want to contact us, you can reach us at fortworth148@gmail.com or on Facebook at fortworth148. And of course, you can always get us through our website too at fortworth148.org. Alrighty, brother. This is Rick Moore signing off.
Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. Oh yay.